that are now on this committee because we have a couple of new members. So starting with myself as the chair of the committee, I would like to introduce our vice chair of the committee, Delegate Pam Queen, and also my district mate, Delegate David Fraser Hidalgo, Delegate Ann Kaiser, Delegate Jared Solomon, Delegate Sarah Wallach, who's on the way, and new Delegate Greg Wims, who was just appointed for this session. So welcome all of the members and Happy New Year. I also want to welcome our Montgomery County delegation staff, who has been working very diligently to support our work behind the scenes, starting with our delegation staffer, Ralph Costas, and also our committee staffer, Harry Hall. Wave your hand. Thank you very much. We also have quite a few bill sponsors and the county and the state representatives joining us, including Delegate Leslie Lopez, who has 3 bills that she introduced that came to our committee. And today we're going to take up on a couple of them. So we have 5 bills on the agenda, and I hope you have all received the agenda and the link to those bills and the summaries, etc. All materials are in the Google Drive folder. Harry, if you don't mind, or Ralph, could you resend the link in the chat or something just to make it easier for members to look up?
Sure thing.
If there's amendments or so forth. So today we're going to go through MC 924, MC 1724, MC 2024, PGMC 110-24, PGMC 111-24. Okay. These are the 5 bills we're going to discuss and hopefully vote on most of them at least. Okay. So starting off, I'm sorry. Harry, you have a question.
Yeah, sorry. First, hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you all. But also, it seems like the chat is disabled.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Sorry about that.
Anyone who wants Harry to send you the link, please let him know.
I put the link in the chat to everyone. However, due to the Open Meetings Act, I cannot allow delegates to chat because they might chat about the materials. But the materials are there for you guys. You guys just can't use them.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Harry. Appreciate that. All right. So first off is MC 924, Montgomery County Alcoholic Beverages. We always have a couple of alcohol bills to start off, which is always great, high-spirited. Class B beer, wine, and liquor 3 license off-premise consumption. This bill was requested by the county government via our delegation chair, Delegate Julie Plotkovich-Carr. This bill would reinstate the sunset of a state bill that we passed a couple of years ago in 2021 on a limited basis to allow licensed restaurants and hotels to sell beer and wine from other producers as long as it's for on-premise consumption and with food purchase. Did I make it right? Okay. Harry or the county representatives, do you have any comments before I ask the members for questions?
Sure. Let me see.
Okay.
I'm just
Amy,
sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Harry. I was just looking for something about it requiring people to buy food with these sealed containers.
It requires the, good morning, I'm sorry. Good morning,
No
Amy
problem.
Smith with Alcohol Beverage Services. The bill will require the purchase of prepared food with it, similar to the legislation that Delegate Chi alluded to earlier. The only other comment I want to make is that it is for off-premise consumption. So it's the restaurants, in beer and wine and manufactured sealed containers, whereas before the containers could be cocktails. And that's the only thing I wanted to add. Thanks.
Okay. Delegate, thank you, Amy. Delegate Kaiser.
Thank you. I just had a quick question for Amy or anyone on the bill. Why does someone have to buy food if the alcohol is in a sealed container to go home? Why do we care that they're buying food at all?
Because it's a restaurant, and that's how it was set up before. I think that's what essentially sets it apart. Is that, this is to be, this is simply a bottle of wine to have with your meal.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought it was off premise was
No,
was mentioned.
This is essentially getting a meal to go, similar to what was essentially under the executive order during COVID, and then it was codified and sunsetted for 2 years. There were some folks that enjoyed ordering out a meal, say chicken parmesan, and getting a bottle of wine to go with it. That's what this is doing.
Yeah, so you can
Okay.
buy it for
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so you can buy it for on-premise consumption, or you can buy it with food for off-premise consumption, right?
That's correct. Under the restaurant license as it currently stands, they can serve and you can purchase for on-premise consumption. This is allowing essentially for you, like you said, to get the bottle of wine to go with your meal.
Okay, great.
So that's why.
Thank you for the clarification. Okay, any other questions or discussions? Delegate Fraser had go ahead, his hand up. Do you still have a question? Okay, thank you. All right, are we ready to vote on this bill? Okay, could I have a motion?
Move favorable.
Okay, thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Delegate Kaiser. All right, I think it's a relatively simple bill, so all members in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I think it's unanimous. So let the record show that MC 924 passes the Economic Development Committee unanimously.
Do we have a quorum at this point, Madam Chair?
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes,
Sorry.
Delegate Wallach is here too. Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, let's move on to MC 1724, Montgomery County Alcoholic Beverages Class D, beer and wine license, farm breweries and limited wineries. This bill was requested by the entire District 14 delegation. We actually passed this delegation 2 years ago unanimously. But ECM did not take action on this particular bill, so that's why it's coming back. So essentially what it would do is it would allow farm breweries and wineries to cross-promote and sell each other's products in order to capture the economic opportunities. Because some consumers going to breweries also want to order a wine and vice versa. And these are local producers based in Montgomery County, and there are not many of them. It is, our job to make sure they can capture more economic opportunity, especially when there is a market demand in comparison to Virginia, for example. I believe the bill as amended has changed it for on-premise consumption only when selling other parties' products, right? Not to go, so we can avoid competing with the retailers who have some concerns. So there is an amendment. I don't know if all members have seen the amendment for the bill. I'm sorry, Delegate Kaiser has her hand up. Delegate Kaiser. Delegate Kaiser. Can you hear me? Or maybe this.
I wanted to move favorable on the amendment.
Okay. On the amendment, there's a motion to move favorable to make it for on-premise consumption only. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Opposed? Okay. I don't see any. All right. So the amendment passes. Any questions or discussions on the bill as amended? Any questions for Amy, for the county, for the bill sponsors? Okay, I do not see any. We did pass it unanimously 2 years ago, so do I have a motion on the bill as amended?
Move favorable
Thank
as
you.
amended.
Okay,
Second.
who seconded? Is there anyone who seconded?
I did.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Delegate Fraser Nagle. All in favor, say aye,
Aye.
or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
all right. Thank you. Opposed? Okay, seeing none, MC 1724 passes the committee. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the next 3 bills, which are related to the Park and Planning Commission. The following 3 bills are the result of a work group last year for development review, led by Delegate Leslie Lopez, that evaluated the development review process in Montgomery County. Each received the full support of the work group. I want to just make it clear. Recommended by the work group out of the 22 recommendations they put forth. And as I understand, collectively, these 3 bills, if taking effect, would shave about 6 weeks of developmental review process in terms of the timeline, which accelerates the needed projects. We are going to, as a committee, switch the order a little bit and work on the 2 bi-county bills first before we take up MC 2024, because there's an amendment that I just got this morning. Okay, so let's start with PGMC 11024, Montgomery County Clerk of the Circuit Court plat recordation. Of course, this bill was requested by Delegate Lopez. It would allow the archivists to accept digital signatures and digital drawings instead of physically transferring the Mylar from department to department. I can tell you from my days working in the county, I cannot tell you how many times I was stuck in elevator with teams coming in for development review, and the architects would literally haul those Mylars and drawings, rolls and rolls of paper from department to department, going to the permitting department, which was on the 2nd floor of our office. Now, it's the 21st century. We really should have accelerated the review process and digitizing everything. I want to open up the floor for questions and comments. Delegate Kaiser, you have your hands up again. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to get clarification from the county. I mean, obviously, this sounds like a good thing, and like you said, Madam Chair, 21st century. But does everyone have the capacity to do this internally? A lot of times, sending large attachments can be problems with computers. So, are there any capacity or implementation concerns?
Yes, so this bill does not only allow digital drawing or signatures. This is an alternative. You can either do the physical Mylar or the digital one.
I understand. I'm just making sure. I mean, I'd like to think that everyone will do it this way, and that we'll change the language that maybe make it have to be that at some point. But I'm just confirming that the capacity is there.
Yes. Yeah, you can do either one. Bill sponsor, you want to clarify on this, right? Delegate Lopez. Yeah.
Yeah, no need to clarify. That sounds accurate.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you. Delegate Queen, Vice Chair Queen.
Thanks.
I'm sorry. No one answered my question yet. I was just trying to confirm that the county internally, I wasn't asking about the option. I was asking the county having the capacity to do this, and that we're not giving them the option to do something that they then can't do.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I misunderstood your question. Delegate Lopez, or anyone want to comment on that?
Perhaps Mel Wenger as the county representative.
Good morning, Delegate Lopez. I'm Christina Sorrento. I can answer this question. We are certainly looking into the most efficient way to do this, but we do have the ability. We're just trying to find a way that will work for everybody, and we could train outside engineers to how to use it. But this would be the first step in allowing this to happen, and it would significantly streamline the process.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delegate Kaiser. Good question. Delegate Queen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to clarify, because I thought when I was reading the county's recommendation, they had mentioned that there was going to be an amendment to make sure it was a digital signature, or was that addressed, or am I looking at older stuff? Is the county okay with the way the bill is written, or do we need an amendment? That's all I'm asking.
So Delegate Queen.
Yes.
Yeah,
Ms.
thank you,
Boucher.
Thank you, Chairman Chi. Kathleen Boucher, with Intergovernmental Relations. We do have our Department of Permitting Services rep here, and you just heard from a Planning Department rep, and Mr. Kronenberg's here as well. But the county is absolutely fine with this bill and the amendments. And if you have questions from the permitting services side, we have Deputy Director Ahsan Motazadi here.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you were good with the amendments. That's all. And if you're fine, we're fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Delegate Queen. We appreciate you looking out for us.
Yes, there's no amendment the amendment has already been integrated into the bill. I don't have a separate sheet of amendment. I think it was yellow sheeted. That's what they call it probably. So we just need to vote on the bill itself without separately voting on the amendment. Okay, any other questions or discussions? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
Move favorable.
Thank you, Delegate Kaiser. Second. Okay, thank you, Delegate Frazier Hidalgo. Okay, all in favor of PGMC 11024, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Opposed? Okay, seeing none, PGMC 11024 passes. Thank you. Okay, next up, it would save about 3 weeks, as I understand, in the developmental review process. So with that summary, I want to open up the floor to see if there are any questions or comments. Does the bill sponsor or the planning department has anything to add to this? Or the staff? Delegate Queen, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, just another clarifying question. So, this seemed to be the delay was a lot of it was attributed to not having digital signatures too. Would this bill still be needed if we have digital signatures, or we would still need it as well? That was kind of my question.
I believe it's still needed, but I would defer to the bill sponsor.
I believe it's a complement to the digital signatures, not a supplement, but perhaps Robert Cronenberg or Christina, you might want to answer.
Sure. So yes, it is kind of a complement, especially for the engineering firms that cannot take advantage of the digital signature. This would allow a plat to be approved prior to getting all the signatures. Getting the signatures a lot of times takes all of the extra time because you have to get it in person.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Any other questions? Comments? Okay. All right. So, Christina, if you don't mind, can you give me a scenario in real life how this might work from the applicant's perspective? So you submit the plat and you're waiting for signatures. How would this bill help?
Sure. So right now, you can get your plat essentially approved by the staff. Everything's right and ready to go to the planning board. But a lot of times it takes many weeks after that just to be circulated to get signatures.
And in the meantime, during this many weeks of time, you just wait. You cannot do anything basically.
As it is currently. This would allow the plat to go to the planning board and through the public hearing process and get approved, and then they could, with the condition that they have the signature. So it really allows the approval process to go concurrently with the plat being circulated for signature.
Okay, so the key word is concurrently. Okay, good. All right, thank you. Okay, any other questions or discussions? Okay, if not,
Move favorable.
thank you.
Second.
Thank you again. All right, all in favor of PGMC 11124, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Opposed? Okay, all right, seeing none. Okay, PGMC 11124 passes. All right. Finally, we have MC 2024, Montgomery County State Highways Project approval. It is also requested by Delegate Lopez out of the work group. This bill would require the State Highway Administration to provide comments to a completed highway construction application within 30 days to match the Montgomery County MCDOT's review time. The bill as amended changes approval time to comment time. Okay, so I don't know if the members have seen the amended language because I just saw it today. So I think it might be a good idea to not vote on it today, so we can come back to it, but I can open up the floor for questions and discussions today. Okay, Delegate Kaiser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to understand what that amendment effectively or essentially does.
So initially, the bill as drafted initially would require SHA to approve a project within 30 days. Right now, as amended, it would simply provide comments within 30 days. It also
but what does that actually mean? What kind of comments? And are we still putting any kind of timeline on their approval?
That's a great question. Okay, bill sponsor Delegate Lopez, would you like to chime in?
Sure, I would just like to say that as the bill sponsor, I haven't received any amendments yet. I assume this is an amendment from SHA. Is that correct, Chair Chi?
I thought it was from you, but Harry, you can clarify that because I just saw it today. So hold on.
Sure. So I think what we're referring to is actually a yellow sheet, which is our sort of internal term.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And,
that is correct. We are referring to the yellow sheeted version, which was a recent addition, but Delegate Lopez, you have seen it and received it before.
Perfect. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that there's not another amendment that's being offered to this bill that we haven't seen yet. In terms of the approval versus comment, I'll let someone perhaps I don't know. I'm looking around like who's the most qualified. There's so many
Lopez,
qualified people to answer the question.
Or Robert. Robert, would you like to comment? Okay.
Mr. Lewis, please.
Or I think Mr. Cronenberg. Thank you.
Oh,
I think Mr. Cronenberg is going to comment. And if
Mr. Cronenberg.
Okay, thank you and good morning. So right now, in terms of the process, we have as part of any development review application, a traffic study is submitted, and our Department of Transportation and even Planning has 30 days to comment on that application. Right now, there is no timeline for SHA, and sometimes we do get comments, sometimes we don't. And so this really puts a structure in place that is complementary and concurrent with what we do already to have that go through the development review process.
Okay, so what if there is no comment? What do you do?
Well, that means we're having to wait, or we're having to reach out to SHA independently to get their comments, which takes time and does delay the process if we're having to do that.
Okay. Can you give me a rough estimate of how many times SHA actually can deliver a comment or approval within 45 days? Because I think that's the rough timeline they try to abide by, right?
That has been their rough timeline, but I think it really is depending on the project. As to how extensive it is on a state road. And again, these are, excuse me, for state roads, not county roads. But again, there is no timeline. So whether it's 45 or 30 or even 60, I think this was really intended by the work group to put, and the development community to put a timeline where SHA has is more mandated to provide comments.
Okay. I don't know whose hand is up first, Delegate Solomon or Delegate Queen. Delegate Solomon. All right.
I think Delegate Queen was first, so go
Okay,
ahead.
all right, Delegate Queen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I guess what I'm understanding now, I have another question, but I'll ask two of them hopefully. The approval time and comment time you're saying that's sort of synonymous? There's no difference in approval versus comment?
There's a big difference in the comments.
Okay.
So for us as a review team, whether it's part of the county, part of the state, part of planning, we get comments that as part of every development application that hopefully result in some kind of condition as we move ahead and get approval by the planning board, get approval of or conditional approval. The state still has an opportunity afterwards to do their right-of-way plans and provide, I wouldn't say provide more comments, but it would more specificity as they do their road designs afterwards. But what this does is provide comments for not only design, but detailed comments as part of every application.
So the way I interpreted the bill was that if we didn't get these comments back in 30 days from the state, that we could go ahead and proceed. Correct? The
Right.
county could proceed. Okay. And there was a question though in the fiscal notes about, so if we decide to proceed without these comments, does the state have to pay for this, or do we pay for this? What happens with that if there's some disagreement later on?
I guess I'm not understanding that question about who pays.
So if it was something in the fiscal note that said something about, well, who pays for this project? It's a state-owned project. If we go forward and do work that has not been commented on by the state, are we somehow, the county, not going to get funding for it if the state isn't in agreement with it?
No, I don't believe so, Delegate Queen. I believe that for every type of application that is on a county or a state road, it's typically the developer that is taking on that responsibility to do the work. There might be some coordination in terms of funding by the state, but we're talking about private development applications that would be on a state road, and the conditional approvals by the board would have that developer do that work. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, so the bill as amended would apply to development projects that are either public or private. And they're not intended for just like a highway projects or road projects. So, okay.
So as part of the development review process, we might comment on public projects, but this is really more so for private development that has that timeline.
Okay, Delegate Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a question. What happens if ultimately SHA chooses to deny? Does the developer have to go back and continue to work through things? Because I know there's a difference between SHA sort of having to review traffic studies versus granting access permits. So, Robert, could you talk a little bit about that?
So if SHA did deny it, we potentially would have to go back to the planning board to have that reevaluated in terms of what they are denying. But in most cases, it's a conditional approval that we're getting, and that conditional approval provides more context for when they do move ahead towards permitting or the permitting phase.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Delegate Kaiser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just trying to understand this local bill that's requiring something of a state agency. How that even works from the perspective of governance. Can we do that?
Well, MNCPPC is a state instrumentality, so the state does have oversight of that. But this bill would require approval of Montgomery County and, oh no, this is actually not a bi-county bill. This is just Montgomery County, so we don't need the Prince George's County approval.
No, I understand that it's an instrumentality of the state, but still this is a local bill, but that it's requiring something of state highway. So I just wanted to understand that
That's a good question.
legality.
Yeah, Harry, our staffer.
Sure. So this is hopefully somewhat helpful. The bill states in Montgomery County, the administration shall render a decision or, provide comments. I honestly might be looking at an older version, but I believe it only applies in Montgomery County.
Delegate Kaiser, I think you're muted.
My question, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry, that didn't answer the question. The question was, now I realize it's only about Montgomery County roads. The question is can a Montgomery County local legislation require something of a state agency? Like state highway? And presumably every county would want to sign on and then this local bill would become statewide, but still, I'm just trying to understand that process-wise.
That's a very good question, I think.
I mean, the only thing I would jump in with is, I mean, we do something similar with speed cameras. We authorize speed cameras in a different way in each county that then State Highway Administration has to approve. I'm not a legal expert. I'll defer to Mr. Lewis on here, but that would just be one of my thoughts. We do something similar with speed cameras.
So, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I think the answer is this is part of the reason why these local laws have to go through the entire General Assembly. Everybody gets to vote on it. But it is similar to what you've done on speed cameras on state roads. You have to pass the bill through the whole legislature, and I think it is probably true that other counties will want to have the same answer, and that's or the same limitation, and that's happened in other areas of law where one county adopts a standard and then other counties want to add on. So that is a possibility, but you do have the authority because these local laws do go through the entire General Assembly for a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. And on that note, I wonder if there's any representative from SHA joining us today. I'm not aware of any, but just want to ask for clarification. Okay. It might be a good idea for us to make sure that somebody from SHA is here before we take a vote next time. I think Delegate Fraser Hidalgo has a question as well.
Yeah, I guess it's partially a question and partially a statement. I think that Delegate Kaiser brings up a really, really good point. I mean, we're talking about, yes, Mr. Lewis, that's true that it does go through the General Assembly, but in most cases, a local bill is given some local courtesy. And I think that this is different than just asking for local courtesy because of it's not just a local Montgomery County bill. It's different. And for us to go to our colleagues and say, this is local courtesy, I don't think is an entire accurate way of portraying this bill compared to other bills that are totally local. So I do think, Madam Chair, I do think it's a good idea to have, to reach out to SHA, and I would just be a little bit more comfortable if we had a little bit more to back up the theory or the idea or the definition of local or locality. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Delegate Kaiser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, having trouble with my phone here. I just want to add, I think you had already mentioned that with the amendment that not all of us have seen, that it would probably be right to delay this. I still want to be on the record to say, I want State Highway to do all these things quicker. I want our administration to be more nimble in a million ways. I'm just making sure, I'm just concerned about, we need to hear from State Highway.
Okay, fair. I read some of their concerns, one of which was, this bill as drafted did not seem to differentiate between major and minor projects, et cetera. And it didn't say, what if the submission was incomplete? I think the bill actually did say that upon completion of the submission, that the SHA would have 30 days to provide comments. But I will defer to the bill sponsor to make some comments on this about why the work group felt strongly about this.
Sure. So, the work group met with a very robust schedule over about 5 months. And every time we had a meeting, it was about a 4-hour meeting. And it was inclusive of just about everyone we could think of to include in the letter of intent to make sure we were going about this in the right way. And one of the representatives that we had was someone from SHA. This person attended one meeting and did not attend any other. I don't have the attendance log in front of me, and if I've made a mistake, I apologize. But there really hasn't been much engagement. And so I'm really struck by any comments or letters going around about this bill from SHA after the fact, because they had a seat at the table and should have been a part of this process. And I will also tell you that this was the first unanimous, relatively conflict-free consensus idea that came from the work group. It was wholeheartedly supported by everyone. It came organically as a suggestion from one of the work group's members. And I would say this is probably our strongest suggestion. And I will do everything I can to make sure this one passes, because we heard without any equivocation that this is something that needs to happen. And this is something that would be significantly helpful. So I look forward to being included in these meetings as long as they take, but this is a good one, and we just got to figure out the details.
Okay, thank you very much for the context. I think it would be helpful to bring an SHA representative for our next work session. So with that, if I don't see any hands for questions or comments on this particular bill, then I would just say look for an email from Ralph for the next work session. We have this bill to vote on, and also have another bill by Senator Ben Cramer, which is also related to MMC PPC regarding the Office of the People's Counsel. So we will take up those bills for our next work session. I see Delegate Solomon's hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had to step away for a phone call. I wanted to make sure I was recorded in the affirmative on 11024.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. I think we are ready to adjourn and go to the floor. Thanks everyone for participation. See you on the floor.